Wait, guys, there's a Reddit talking about me. This VTuber claims that she does not hate black people, but she thinks they shouldn't receive reparations. She also said in another video that she's against DEI and affirmative action. That's true. I am. They got my point. They actually got my point right. Actually, I'm happy with that. Groaning Phoenix, thank you so much. Thank you for the 5 gift subs. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for your generosity. Yeah, you know, I really like it when they get my points correctly, because what bothers me is when they get it wrong, right? When they get it wrong, like they say like that I don't know, like I wanna kill people or something like that. Like I don't like when they get it. This one actually got my points right. That I claim that I do not hate black people. True, I don't hate black people, but she thinks they shouldn't receive reparations. It's true. I don't think they should. And in another video, she's against DEI. I'm very against DEI and affirmative action. Wow, there's a whole thread about me, man. Dude, look at that derp. What a derpy looking VTuber, am I right? All right, W hat. Yeah, I know. All right. Okay, I ain't paying no goddamn reparations. That's fucking stupid. I agree with this anime girl. Ain't nobody fucking asking you to pay reparations, but the United States already pay reparations. Wait, I mean, I don't know if this is true. I don't know what they mean about this. I mean, they're going into like some kind of Israel thing. But just like taking this first part right here, ain't nobody asking you to pay reparations. I assume what they mean by this is that they're not asking you to pay reparations, but they're not asking you, but they're asking the government. It's the same thing. It's really the same thing, because the taxpayers, which is like you pay into the United States government. So here's like a common misconception I feel like a lot of like kind of liberals have, is they believe that money comes from nowhere. That when the government gives you money, and this might be why they're so commie, is they believe that when you have the government gives you money, that it was spawned in from thin air. And in some cases, it actually is spawned in. It is spawned in from thin air. However, it's spawning into thin air devalues all of the other money that exists. So even when even inflation lowers the amount of value that you have. So no matter what, somehow, some way, they're taking the money from you. So if the United States government pays reparations and you're paying the U.S. government, then you are paying reparations. Because that money has to go from that money has to come from somewhere, and it's money that could have been spent on something for the citizens, for the citizens, or you know, not just citizens, because obviously like some people that would get reparations would be citizens. It could go to other things basically that aren't racially based. Anyway, but the United States already paid reparations to Israel for the Holocaust. Is this true? $6 billion a year. That sounds like a lot. Or do they mean that we give them money? Because that can't be true. Military aid. Okay. So I mean, let's even take that like let's just say that like, yeah, it is military aid or whatever, right? So first off, I don't even agree with that in the first place. So yeah, I don't agree with that anyway. And but this still possibly could be more worth it than giving reparations. And the reason why is if you can prove it to me, but like, you know, obviously I don't believe this, but I'm just saying, if you could prove to me that it would be a net benefit to us to do that, then like maybe I would be okay with it. But like I still am not a huge fan of giving, like, I think we have much more things to worry about at home that I don't really want to be subsidizing another country. I'm not a big fan of that. For the same reason as up here, by the way, is because that money is coming from us, American citizens, paying for the welfare of another country. I think is bullshit. The little measures that the U.S. had to make up for the atrocities committed during slavery and subsequent aftermath, like affirmative action, were canceled because we fixed racism. Get the fuck out of here. No. I mean, the reason why reparations are done is because what is the criteria of reparations? First off, who's going to pay it? Because you can't have like the whole of society. The whole of society is not to blame, because not everybody owned slaves back then. So like, if you were to ask for reparations, but say it was like right after slavery, say like slavery, like the whole slavery era happened, and then they were like, okay, well, we're gonna pay reparations like this. That makes sense to me because it was like right after it happened. However, this happened like such a long time ago, right? In fact, people alive today, they don't have a direct tie to it anymore, right? So it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me like a person that like lived that they immigrated from like Italy and now they're in America, but they have to pay reparations. That doesn't make sense. Like their family like had to work their way through America without any of that benefit. So why would they have to pay for this? It doesn't make any sense to me. Again, this is like trying to like give random people money who have nothing to do with what happened and take the money from people who also had nothing to do with what happened. So this is just, in general, this is just bad. But you know what though? I do have a caveat. I have a, what do you guys think of this, chat? I actually have I have a compromise. Hear me out. Here's my compromise. I will pay people reparations and I would be okay with it, but then we ship them back to Africa. As in like the person who says, yeah, I'll take reparations. Okay, you lose your citizenship and then you can go to the African country of your choice. And I would be okay with it, honestly. Okay, sure, fine. It'd be kind of worth it, I think, to not deal with like freaking commies, in my opinion. But I mean that's how I would do it if I had to. Yeah, because if you think about it, right? If you think about it, it makes sense, because if the idea is to set things like kind of right the wrongs of history, then that would be like the way that you do it, right? Because if they're saying that, if they want to if you're saying it was how do I explain it? If they want money for what happened there. Sorry. There's like another thing, by the way. Here's another like ridiculous thing. Shouldn't Africans be paying the reparations? Like, I'm just being real. Like, shouldn't people in Africa pay the reparations to them? Because it was people in Africa that actually enslaved their own people and then shipped them to America. They sold the slaves to Americans. So shouldn't we like go to Africa and then demand reparations from them? Bannable offense. Wait, am I in trouble? Did I say something bad? I didn't say anything wrong though. I just said the truth. Here's my logic behind it, right? So if the idea is that the slavery is like bad and that they came to America and it's a terrible thing that they're in America, it's a terrible thing that they're in America, that they should get reparations, and we should like try to like set things back to like how they were for them and actually rectify the crime, then shouldn't that also involve having them going back to like where they came from? I'm just saying, like, if you don't like America, and you think it's terrible to the fact that you want money for it, then shouldn't we just go all the way with it? Am I getting in trouble? Guys, I'm not saying to ship all people back. I'm saying the people that have this mentality. That's what I'm saying. Educational purpose. Wait, did I say something bad? Like, actually, I don't know. So how did I stumble into racism? I don't know if you guys are memeing, but like, I don't think it's racist what I'm saying. No, so like if a person's here and they're like, no, I like being in America and I love it here, then like I'm just like, yeah, great, like fellow American, you know, it's not really, yeah, that's all I'm saying. And then the whole fact that like the reparations should be paid from Africa, that's just reality, because they kidnapped their own people, they enslaved other tribes and then sold them to America. That's history. I mean, you can hate history, but I mean, you can hate me, but I'm just saying what happened. It's too much nuance for these people. Well, like, let me think, like, how can I word it better? Because like I can kind of see how it's like could be worded badly, but it's like this. If you think it's unfair, right? Like if you think it's bad to the point that you want every single American to pay you money for your family having been taken here, being sold here by Africans, by the way, into the slave market and use the slaves, and obviously slavery was a bad thing, right? But if you're saying that, if you're saying that like that it is so bad that you need to be paid for it, then I'm saying like we should just take it all the way to the origin of where the crime, well, not the crime, but the injustice happened. Does that make sense? Like we should just reset it like all the way. That's what I'm trying to say. Look up the history of Liberia. It doesn't matter if history pointed at Africa. Portugal and Africa were the only ones that should be paying then. Well, I don't think anyone should pay reparations, even Africa, by the way. I don't think people in Africa nowadays have anything to do with the people that enslaved people in Africa. Like the people living right now in Africa have nothing to do with it. So I think I don't think they should pay reparations. I don't think anyone in America should pay reparations. Like, why should people who immigrated here, again, like I bring up the example of like Italians, why should they have to pay for it? What if your family fought in the Civil War, and your family member, can you imagine this? Your family fought in the Civil War on the side of liberating the slaves. And what you're saying, you have to pay reparations? Like your family never had slaves. Your family fought and bled for the rights of slaves, and you have to pay reparations? You see, it doesn't make sense. I agree with your points. It's very off-putting. Well, I'm retarded, to be honest. I'm not really a talker. So I just say it plainly, you know? Imagine how many are asking for reparations that didn't have any enslaved ancestors. That's true as well. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded. Yeah. Alex Jones moment. But yeah, you can't inherit crimes. Yeah. The thing is, guys, am I not consistent about this with everything? I've said that, like, you shouldn't inherit the crimes of shouldn't inherit the crimes of your parents, and I say that all the way to even abortion. And that's why I believe that if a woman gets raped, that, like, it has nothing to do with the baby. The baby doesn't deserve to die for that. I take it all the way. I have a logical consistency that you can follow throughout all of my thought. What's really funny is when the people asking for reparations turn out to have slavery ancestors. Yeah, that's what I mean. So, like, should the 50% of their blood pay the other 50%? Should they pay themselves reparations? Like, I don't know. It just seems like a dumb thing to basically, like, pursue at this point. And again, like, if this was like literally a year after slavery, I'd say there's a pretty good argument for it. Right? Like, if this happened right after slavery and they're like, can we get reparations? I'd be like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. Count Kill, thank you for the bits. Nothing you said is racist. It's blunt and a bit untactful, but you aren't expressing any prejudice against these people. No. In fact, like, I want what's best. I want what's best for minority communities. And I think that what's best for minority communities involves realizing, it involves us recognizing the truth of those problems in order to fix them. Right. I've said this, like, forever, basically, that how do you solve the problem of black on black violence? How do you solve this without actually saying that it's a problem? You can't solve a problem that you don't recognize as a problem. And, like, I don't want people to die in inner cities. Stop removing fathers from them. Anyway, just to restate, that's what I meant, is that if people want reparations, I would be okay with it, with you surrender being American and you go wherever you want, basically, whatever your country of, you go all the way back to, like, whatever your country of origin, and then we'll help you go back to there, and then we'll pay reparations. I would be okay with that. That is not reparations payment. Germany paid those. The U.S. spent its money because of its own. Yeah, I mean, this is just going into, like, the U.S. military aid, again, which I disagree with in the first place. The consequences of slavery, segregation, and racist policies like redlining are still felt to this day. I don't think that racism is solved by counter-racism. I don't agree with that. A white child that is born today has nothing to do with the people with slavery that occurred in the past. So why should they bear the burden of that? And that's who this is too, by the way, if you're wondering. Reparations is something that is going to be paid by future generations. Unfortunate reality, but it's welfare and redistribution problem through taxes, not reparations issue. I grew up dirt poor in the outskirts of Houston, and I clawed my way up on my own. Big up. I watched others from the same dirt poor life give up and turn to gangs and drugs. They chose that life and they deserve it. Fuck anything I worked for going to anyone over skin color. That's bullshit, and I've got nothing to do with it. I 100% agree with this guy. This is very based, and I'm glad they were able to get out of it and escape. Look at -1. They downvoted this guy. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the person saying, like, yeah, I worked my way out of there. I'm, like, not in that shit anymore, and I don't want any of my money to go to people that didn't like try to work their way out of it, and then they fucking downvote him. That's actually insane. I'm not logged into Reddit, so I can't really downvote or upvote or whatever. But the slave owners got their reparations when slavery ended. Because okay, so I see what he's saying. I kind of get the argument on both sides. So how do I explain it? So yeah, I think that was probably not a great play, but I can see the logic behind it. I can definitely see the logic behind it. The logic being like this. And again, guys, like, one thing you have to consider, this is, like, one thing, I don't know why, but people nowadays have they're not capable of understanding that times are different. Like social norms and stuff are different, and they change throughout time, right? So like kind of painting, like looking through it, looking at the past through the lens of like a person living now and the culture now is like is really weird. Like I don't know. I think it is. But okay, so here's the logic behind it. If, and this is what I'm guessing. I'm not 100% sure if this is what they thought, but it seems like the logical route to it is that they thought that, listen, we bought those people fair and square, and they were considered property. You know, again, a thing I disagree with. They were considered property at the time. And so they're appealing to the government to say that their property was being seized by the government, which is kind of true, right? So I can kind of see like the logic there of like why they would have to pay, like the government would pay them for that. Like that makes sense to me. But I disagree with the notion that the people were property. I think it was a bad, it's just morally bad, right? I'm an immigrant too, and I disagree, dude. Maybe the problem is I think too hard about this stuff, and I'm not trying to like, anyway, it seems like I'm patting myself on the back, but I think too hard about this stuff because I really want to understand like why I think what I do. And when I try to examine the past, I try to analyze like why they would do things based on the culture that existed at the time and the principles that they had, right? Because I love history. Like I love watching documentaries about history. Like history is one of my favorite things to read and to like learn about. So it's like whenever I think of history, I always think of it like in the lens of like the time that it happened, so I can understand it. Because how can you understand history in the past if you only look at it through a modern mindset? You have to like actually understand like how people were back then and like what was right, what was wrong for those people, right? And slavery like back then was kind of it was more the norm than not, actually. Like slavery was kind of just a thing that everybody did throughout the world, throughout history. And it was only until kind of that point in history that people started to think, you know, maybe slavery bad. And so people around that time had started to develop a culture that slavery was bad, right? But that wasn't a predominant thought. That was a novel idea. This was like a novel rights idea, a novel idea of like this is a bad thing, and it doesn't mesh with like the values of Christian morality, right? So again, they had to develop this idea. Somebody had to bring it up and say like this is a bad thing, and then they had to I mean, if you think about it, like even in the Bible they had slavery. Like they had slavery like forever, since ancient times. It was more, slavery was okay and historically accepted until recent history. If you consider like the length of the timeline of humanity, if you were to consider it, slavery being bad is a very, very small part, right? Is a really small part that we developed, basically. That like, okay, like this is bad. We're not going to do this anymore. Yeah. Technology kind of made slaves pointless. Well, no, not at the time that it happened. I think I don't think that's true. At the time that slavery was outlawed, I don't think that was the case. Definitely now. Yeah, definitely more now. Well, then again, that's not true because we still have slavery today. So why would that be the case? If we have the technology, then why do we have slavery? Slavery is still probably slavery is still probably profitable. So Crispin, thank you so much for the gift sub. Thank you. Anyway, sorry, I'm actually going through all of this thought like right now, like as we're talking. So I might like kind of have to stop and like shift and like explain myself more because like again, like my brain is a jumbled mess. Like I just, all the ideas are just kind of floating around, and then like I kind of grab one and then I move from there. So I'm trying to be like as what's the word? I'm trying to be as clear as possible, but I agree that the issue needs to be corrected, and I agree on putting in the work to end systemic racism. I still don't know what this is. In fact, if you were to ask me, I think, like, do they mean, like, what is the definition of systemic racism to these people? Is it that the system, as in the government, is racist? Because if that's the case, then the systemic racism is actually against white people. And like Asians to a degree. But if this was actually what they're talking about, systemic racism, what do they mean by that? Systematic racism, systematically and pervasively puts, okay, well, the form of racism ingrained in society's laws. Society's laws, policies, and institutions. Okay, so the laws, policies, and institutions systemically, you know, I'm reading this definition. I'm not really like I don't know what they mean by this, but systemically, the system, the government, the laws, the policies, the institutions are all racist against white people. Rather, like if you were to consider like affirmative action, affirmative action is the main one actually. Affirmative action is definitely racist against white people and Asians. So I think that if you want to talk about systemic racism, that's what it is. That it is that's DEI. DEI is systemic racism. Yes. But there's a difference between working to improve circumstances and create welfare programs. And all of these things are straight up saying paying reparations to someone. Yeah, and this is dumb. As far as like improving, I mean, obviously, I agree somewhat. Well, what do you mean by this? Right? This could be like a lot of things. I think the details are very important for here. But for creating welfare programs, I don't really think welfare works that well. Just being honest, like I mean, like we've spent more. I mean, you could see like our welfare spending has gone up, and we've gotten worse results. So worse results and more racism. So it's just I don't know. It just seems bad. Anyway, where does the government money come from? My paychecks. Still me paying. Still a no. So yeah, and this is the thing again here is that you shouldn't pay reparations. The government should pay it. And again, like I don't know how you. I mean, profile pic. Am I right? But I don't know how you could like actually think this that the government paying reparations is not you paying reparations because your taxes are going to the government, so the government gets its money from you. So this just doesn't. This is again like do they think the money grows on trees? They think that the like what where are they getting this from? I don't know how you can think this. It doesn't logically make sense. Anyway, you have this person here. Where does the government money come from? My paycheck. Still me paying? Still a no. Yeah, I agree with this person. If the U.S. can pay reparations to Holocaust survivors and you're still kicking and you're still kicking, then you'll live. I mean, again with the 4 upvotes, like there's actually like, more people believe in this than this guy. On this, I'm actually against this too. I'm against this as well. I don't want to pay Holocaust survivors anything, to be honest. I don't even know if this is true. Like, I don't even know if this claim is true. It sounds fake, to be honest. And if this is true, it makes no sense because why would we pay reparations for saving them? It just seems weird that you would say like, well, you know, you should pay reparations for saving us. Like, it's just weird. Least racist VTuber? 100% true. Like I 100% agree with Star Beastie. Like actually incredible, immaculate logic. Actually, really thought through this one. Like I really think that this person's incredibly smart. Couldn't have said it better myself. Actually. Let's see what else we got here. Never watch VTubers. True. Probably an alt-right grifter. Probably people tend to be a lot less guarded on their live streams. Guarded. Wait, is it? Well, this isn't track. Wait. People are a lot less guarded on their live streams. I feel like people would be more guarded on their live stream. Am I wrong? Wouldn't you be more guarded on a live stream because like what you're saying is being recorded, right? So it would be the reverse. That doesn't make any logical sense. We need to be clear about what reparations means. It does not mean me going out on the street and giving a black person some money, okay? It means the system, which we pay into taxes, helping improve black communities that have been underserved because of systemic racism. Underserved, I mean. I mean, why does it have to be black communities? That's the thing. Is like like I mean, it could just be all communities, really. I mean, like any like kind of impoverished community, like I think maybe we can help them out with some better programs. But again, like that's going to be very targeted. Like we'd have to like actually sit down and think of the policies because I think that the actual details of those plans matter, right? I don't believe that, and this is, by the way, this is why I don't like giving to charities that I am not directly linked with. So like for instance, like I could give to like a church that I know because I know that they're gonna use that money for the best thing. I could maybe give to my local community, like you know, if there's like a charity for like my local community, like maybe cleaning a park or something like that, I could do that because then I know exactly where that's going. I don't like giving money to like random charities that I don't know them because I don't know what the details are of how they're going to use that money. So again, it's the details here significantly matter. It's about righting the wrongs of slavery, which still affects our society today. I got a weird question. I have an interesting thought. So why is it that immigrants from post-slavery, like we're talking immigrants that came from like Italy or Poland, wherever, the people that took the ship and they landed in New York City, they got off the boat with nothing but what was on their backs. How is it that those people with literally nothing living in the slums of New York, how did those people survive then? Look, we got a pick me in chat. They had white privilege, says Preacher Hunter. I know you're saying that. I know you're saying that like as a joke. But again, these people, this is another thing you would understand if you knew about history, is that Italians and Irish were Polish people. They were hated in America. When they came as immigrants here, they hated them. They had slurs for them. They had their own little N-words for every single person that came from, funny enough, I could probably say them on stream and not get in trouble, but they had their own little N-words for every single one of these like different communities, right? They were hated. They were hated in America, and they came here and they somehow still built a life for themselves. And like, they're not like, a lot of them are not like, what, like how that happened? How the fuck did that happen? I mean, if you want to go use the Holocaust example from earlier, how the fuck did people have their entire families get Holocausted and then they come here and then why are we not asking for money for that? Like, I'm just confused. The thing is, I actually know the answer to this, and I can explain it to you. The answer is the infantilization of Black communities. That's the problem. And ironically, actually, there was some racism from like Democrat people, kind of. But a lot of the infantilization of like, we need to give them money and keep them on the government dime, like, was actually so bad. And somehow, the ironic thing is a lot of the things that were made to destroy Black people, and there were things that were made to destroy Black. I'm not that retarded to say that like there weren't people racist against Black people. Obviously there were, and there obviously were people that tried to keep them down in the same way they tried to keep Italians down, the same way they tried to keep Irish down. They tried to keep all of these people down, which is like funny because like Italians and Irish people, you consider them to be white right now, even though back in the day they were considered like a completely different race. But anyway, what I was saying is, absolutely it was a thing that there were people that had it out for Black people, right? For sure. The funny thing is, this is like the irony of it. A lot of these institutions that were made specifically to keep Black people down are the ones that are praised right now. Right now. Planned Parenthood was founded to kill Black people. That was what the founder of Planned Parenthood said. And now Planned Parenthood is like it is now their Sistine Chapel, right? It's so crazy to me. It's so crazy. Yeah, and that's the institution that they love. Oh, this is what we need. This is what's going to liberate Black people. No, what liberates people is accountability for their actions, and accountability and giving people, what's the word I'm looking for? Agency. Giving people agency over their own actions. If you commit a crime, you go to jail. That's the consequences of your crime. This isn't oh no, you didn't need it. No, you need to feel the consequences of your own actions, because that's what causes people to change. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I actually do care about minorities. I do care about Black people, and I really think that we need to stop coddling people and treating minorities like infants, because that's how you continue this cycle of bullshit, basically. You have to do the thing that's right, the thing that's good, not the thing that's kind. And we've been so addicted, intoxicated by doing what's kind, because it makes us feel better about ourselves. And sometimes you have to say the thing that's going to get everyone to hate you. Like, I'm going to say these things and people are going to get mad at me. They're going to hate me for it. But what I'm saying is what we need to actually solve the problem. And that's why I say it.